Welcome back to another episode of Heartcore. As you can probably see if you're watching this either on Spotify or on YouTube's, we're here.
I can touch her.
Okay. That was my nose poked. Hi, Miko.
Hi, Celestina. It's nice to be here with you in person.
Honored. Today, we are coming at you from lovely, very, very rainy Brighton Beach, UK. You probably didn't need to know all those details, but I feel like we usually say where we're at. And it also feels weird not looking at you and having to look at the camera. So we'll figure out what's going to be most appropriate for this episode. If you're listening and not watching, sorry for all of this, but this is new for us. So it is. We're myth busting today. And I'm going to have Miko start us off since I've been talking incessantly. So myth busting time.
Today we decided to talk a little bit about all the misconceptions in human design, or some of them. We chose top 5. That's not all of them, definitely not all of them. So we chose the top 5 myths out there, or just common things people are believing in these days. And I think it's an important subject to talk about and to bring to light as well. So we can always ignore it all the time, but what's the point in doing that? So we just wanted to speak about it head on.
Illuminate those words.
Yeah, just run into that darkness with open eyes. So the first one we wanted to talk about is one of the most Googled questions, apparently, according to Answer the Public, is human design a cult?
Damn.
And the reason why we believe that this is often believed is that Ra did have a bit of a, I don't know, aggressive way of talking about human design, or he was in his own little box a lot in some aspects. But on the other hand, he's also someone who pushed the scientific aspect. He really wanted to scientifically back up his claims, and he requested from multiple people to do some research on all that he has been told.
I think, okay, so if you've listened to our episode on serial killers, I feel this is a weird thing to tie it back to, but I feel like cult leaders just have some type of charisma to them. I don't know if he has the channel of, you can tell me if he does or not, I don't know, but TBD, we might have to go back and check that out and put it in the comments for you. So if it's not listeningable, go back and look in the comments for that. But I think people just have a certain charisma about them, right? Which could feel a little bit culty, you know, especially when they're preaching something that maybe hasn't been preached before. So I feel like there is potentially validity to that, but also you don't have to drink the Kool-Aid. No one's telling you to drink the Kool-Aid. Take a sip if you want, take none of the sips if you want. So yeah, I think anything can be turned into extremism, as we've seen in our world over the past year to 5. How long is COVID? No, but seriously, I think anything can be turned into extremism, right? So like if that's, I don't know, if like that's your personality and you bring that to it, sure, this can be a little culty, but I feel like that's with anything in the world. I'm sure there are carrot cults, you know, people who are just like really obsessed with carrots. Spaghetti monster cults. I mean, carbs are delicious, but
I don't know which religion that is, but they actually believe in like a spaghetti god, or I don't know what it was, but it was very weird. So look that up. It exists. Yeah, but I agree. And I think also one part of why it was felt like a cult was because it started out a bit like a guru.
yeah.
Like he met up with his group of people and they were surrounding him, they were listening to him. And at some point, if you have never been to an ashram, you don't really know what I'm talking about, but there is this weird energy and some people are really following blindly. And this is something that we really want to point out today. It's not about being blind. Human design is pointing you towards your inner intuition. And this is the main thing, really listening to your inner authority, following your strategy, and doing these two things is pointing you towards your inner authority. Everything else that's in your chart is a guideline, but nothing is set in stone. Which kind of brings us to the next point, and unless you have anything else to say about the human design cult.
No, we're good.
Cool.
It's beautiful.
Then would you like to mention the next point?
Yes, this is probably when, okay, let me, I guess, backtrack. Like when I was talking more to dietitians about human design, this is probably the thing that I would point out the most, because I would meet people who were like super type A or thought they were super type A. And they were like, oh, I've done Enneagram, I'm X, Y, and Z. I've done Myers-Briggs, I'm X, Y, and Z. And I feel like with those two personality tests, quote unquote, in particular, people do feel really boxed in, right? They're like, I'm a 9 with a 1 wing and I can't change. Or like I'm an INFG or whatever those letters are, right? Yeah. And I think I just mentioned both of mine, like subconsciously. That's really funny. But I think people get really boxed in with those personality tests in particular. And I think in part it's because you have to answer the questions consciously, right? Like if you're taking a Myers-Briggs, there's like 100 questions you have to answer. Same with Enneagram if you're taking a proper test. So I think we just get in our heads about that. But with human design, because you only have to put in your accurate birth time, birth date, birth location, I think because it takes so much of the headiness and like mental piece of it out of it and just kind of is, that you could still feel boxed in, but I think it actually does the opposite. I think it allows you to see the potential of who you are rather than feeling boxed into the 9 with a 1 wing and that's all I am, that's all I can be. And I think that there is still, like, you can still go the opposite way and just be like, oh my God, I'm a 6'2" ego manifester and that's it, you know, or I'm a 1'3" emotional manifesting generator and that's my life, you know. So I think that can still very much happen. And I think it does still happen. Like people will just be like, oh, I didn't respond to you because I'm a projector. And like not have, you know what I mean? And like not have to, like they use it as an excuse or a crutch. But I think in reality, human design actually allows for the opposite in the sense of like, there's so much more potential when you learn the intricacies of your chart. And like we've talked about different aspects of the chart beyond your profile, your type, and your authority, right? And you can get boxed in if that's all you know, but there's so much more nuance to it.
Yeah, that was a great introduction to the next point, because what I also see a lot is my clients, they come to me and they are then telling me that they're scared because they've had a reading and this person that they had the reading from, they gave them information. And it's very interesting because what I have experienced is that sometimes you would say something as a reader and the client would focus on that, but you just gave it as an example. And that's why I'm being super careful in what examples I give. And I'm being very clear in this is an example. It's not talking about you per se, but it's just also making it more understandable in some ways, providing examples. So I think the beautiful thing about human design is that it's actually very open. It's giving you directions in and understandings in who you are. So a lot of times at the end of the reading, my clients would say, oh my God, I'm not crazy. No, it's you. It's normal for you. And yeah, and this is a really beautiful thing to see. But on the other hand, the thing that is also often forgotten is even the open spaces is still in you. Because you're still experiencing these energies from time to time. It's just less consistent. So understanding and knowing all of the gates and the philosophy behind it, I think it's super impactful just for you to understand humanity as a whole, the shadows and the positive aspects of it, but also equally understanding yourself, whether it's consistently defined in you or just sometimes popping in and out because of planets or people that are joining your life. You personally will probably also understand that some people trigger you more than others. Others make you feel like you can express yourself more easily. Others make you feel clogged in the throat or in your emotions, or there are just many, many different ways of how this can show up. And this feeling boxed in, or also having human design quote unquote experts saying that you are this and that's it, like you have to do this and you have to follow that. I find that super dangerous. Yeah. So if you ever hear that someone is telling you this is who you are, there's no wiggle room, there's no choice, there's always choice, always. You always can choose if you want to go to the shadow or to your potential. And yeah.
Fantastic. So good.
That kind of also brings us to the next point as well regarding types and the cliches revolving that.
Hi again. Yeah. So, right. I feel like, because I'm going to start with a manifester just because I am one, right? But I feel like people are like, oh my God, I would love to be a manifester, right? But dude, not every download is something that you act upon. So I think that there's this beauty that comes with every type, and you just have to embrace who you are, what you are, and really lean into that, right? So with manifestors, I feel like, oh yeah, it's so easy to manifest, but like, dude, if you're not in a place where you're like open to it, if you haven't gotten proper rest, it's not going to happen, right? So that's one example. I feel like with generators or manifesting generators probably feel like they're worker bees, and that sucks. Like the do, the go. I'm not as fast as a manifesting generator. I don't have that direct access to my throat. I think this comes kind of just back and forth to the being boxed in thing, right? You have your own really beautiful, unique pieces of you that are uniquely you. And that's what needs to shine, right? So not feeling like you're less than because you're a certain type. So yeah, if you're a generator out there, you may feel like a worker bee, but like doing things that really excite you and like really like light you up and you feel that fire within you, that's what you're supposed to be doing. So if you're not feeling that in your job and you are feeling like a worker bee, it's not for you. Same with manifesting generators, kind of a sprinkle of like a generator / manifester up in there, right? Same situation. If you're not feeling that satisfaction from what you're doing, it's not the right thing. And there's no reason to feel boxed in. Also, I think the other thing with manifesting generators is like they have too many interests, right? Like, ooh, shiny syndrome. I know an MG, I love him. And he's started like probably 5 or 6 different businesses. But no, those two. But he's also just like so stoked on it and he just does it. I think sometimes, though, it could be a bit of a disconnect between knowing what to respond to when you have that download, right? So anyway, ooh, shiny syndrome is not a bad thing out there, MGs. And yeah, I'm going to let you take the other 2 non-sacral beings. How about that?
So yeah, Celestina kind of also already mentioned the projector. What we hear quite a bit is, oh, I don't have energy centers. In some projectors, or for example, if you're a mental projector, you don't have any energy centers. So the easy way out is to say, I'm a projector. I didn't have space or energy to answer your messages. But that's really important to understand, that to not make excuses out of human design, but to really just embrace, as you already mentioned, embrace who you are while still being open-minded, because this is a journey, this is an experiment, and really seeing and feeling into yourself. To me, it's just a tool to connect more with my intuition. And yes, it's great and fun to understand the gates. And it's great and fun to understand your profile and your centers and everything about human design. And sometimes I meet people, they start to get introduced in human design and they dive deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into it, which is fascinating. I mean, I'm also doing that. I'm still doing that. But there is a fine line between turning this into, a cult way of thinking about life or a religious way of thinking about life. Because for me, religion is, it can be very boxy. So you have one way or the highway if you're not following it. But instead, look at it as a spiritual practice and going deeper into yourself. And that's also why I love Gene Keys, because he's taken this to another level and he's kind of made it more about the introspection. And that part, along with the practicing of inner authority and just connecting with your intuition, that's what it's all about. So projectors, circling back, one of the things is that Projectors think that they should just sit around twirling their thumbs and waiting for the invitation. Yeah, like Celestina is doing right now. Just a visual for everyone watching. But that's not what it is about. Projectors need to show themselves to be recognized, and you really need to be in balance. You have to work on yourself, work on your own energy, your own mindset, your own emotions, understanding which centers are defined and undefined in all types. Just understanding that and understanding how other people are impacting you in certain areas is so, so helpful. And yeah, you really have to show yourself as a projector. As a reflector, you need to be extremely mindful who you surround yourself with. You really need the right surrounding. And once you've made the correct choice according to where you want to live and who you want to surround yourself with and where you want to work, your life is going to flow more easily. Just bear in mind, this decision can take months. It can take 1 month. It can take many months as a reflector. So yeah, these are just a few common misconceptions regarding types. The next one we would like to talk about is that this is something that is very en vogue at the moment. That en vogue.
Trendy?
Cool.
Hip.
Now we've had all the synonyms. That is that human design is the perfect matchmaking tool. And yes, it is super tempting to use it for that. But instead of using it as a matchmaking tool, I would recommend using it as a tool to work on your relationship. So the challenge is, if you would use it as a matchmaking tool, you're assuming that everyone is already balanced, is already deconditioned, is already in their perfect blueprint, like living out their perfect blueprint. And that is not the case in most of us. And it doesn't have to be. This is another thing. When you're entering a relationship, you don't need to be the perfect version of you. You are growing with your partner, and there will always be things that you need to learn as an individual and you need to learn as a couple. And there's a certain way that you need to feel inside to be able to enter into a relationship, into a healthy relationship. But you don't have to have it all together 100%, because that's most likely not going to happen in this lifetime. Well, I don't know. To me, I don't think.
You're like, not enlightenment, not this round.
Yeah.
A little bit closer, but not
exactly.
yet.
We're getting there, lifetime by lifetime. But yeah, I just think that's also important to understand that when you're looking at someone's human design, the way that the human design reader is interpreting the chart is crucial, because you can look at the potential. You can also look at the shadow aspects. You can look at all the empty, quote unquote, spaces, which still impact you. And they can still be a huge cause of you not feeling good enough in a lot of ways. So using human design as a matchmaking tool is basically often just saying, okay, what are the empty spaces I need to fill? What am I missing? And you're not missing anything. So getting together with another individual and then learning from that and seeing where are they impacting me, where am I impacting them, and how can we make this work?
I think the biggest thing when it comes to this is, okay, well, one, it's everywhere on Instagram right now, right? Like, use human design for matchmaking. Don't like that shit. Swipe left, swipe right, whatever. I'm not on any of the dating apps. I don't know what way you swipe.
She's been married forever.
Like 8 years. And I've
together with her partner forever.
Like 11 years. Yeah, no. So I don't.
Pre-dating apps.
There was Tinder, but I didn't. Okay. Anyway, getting so off topic. I think it's having found human design like 6 years into, no more, 8 years into my relationship with my husband. I think it helps me understand him better, right? So he's a 6'2" sacral generator. It's either a yes or a no. And I don't think I respected that before, right? If it was a no, I'm like, babe, come on, let's just go outside, please. Like, come for a walk with me. And like, if it was a no, it was a no. I was like, come on, please. And that never worked. So I think it's a better understanding, and also the generator piece of it. I grew up with two MGs, like both my parents are MGs, and so we're in Brighton, and my parents also happen to be here. So Miko's experienced my parents, and maybe we can do an episode on them. But I grew up with them being like Energizer bunnies and doing everything so fast, and being with a generator, it's not a bad thing. It's just different, right? It's a little bit slower. That's it. So I think I have a better understanding, and like understanding your design, but also understanding the people around you who either you've entered a relationship with or you're in a relationship with. Understanding their design is just phenomenal in understanding interpersonal relationships, whether it's, again, like a romantic relationship, friendship, co-workership, to game changer for family, game changer for running a business. Let me tell you, understanding other people's strengths, weaknesses, how they can support each other, fucking game changer. All right, good on the matchmaking?
Good on the matchmaking.
Amazing. All right, last but certainly not least, because I'm pretty sure we could have had like a 5-hour episode with this, but also I would have needed a snack, multiple snacks. So myth number 5, Ra is the only reliable and quote unquote true human design source. Neither of us really have belief, I guess you could say, in this. Yeah, he got the initial download, but if you've understand a bit about manifestors, is like, we're not here to do everything ourselves. We need other people to help us fill in the pieces. And I don't think it was done with him, and I don't think that it should be taken as like God's word. You know what I mean? Because then it comes back to that culty, not so great stuff. We can still be real woo, but we don't need culty woo, you know? Not culty woo. Yes, he's the one who had this download and like started talking about human design. Dope, awesome. But that doesn't mean that the information ended with him. And there are other people who are reliable and quote unquote true human design sources. You've done way more into the reading texts than I have, so I'm gonna let you take it from here.
Yes. So, yeah, we're definitely not into the culty woo. We believe in empowering the individual themselves, and just it's always going to come back down to trusting your own intuition, because no one is going to be able to tell you who you are better than yourself, and trying to look for answers outside is also not the answer. You will have to step inside, and human design is still a very mental thing in a lot of ways. You have to learn and understand the material first from your mind, but then you have to embody it and live it. And with Ra being the first person to bring this to light, and maybe not the first person receiving this information, but just the person that chose to do something with this information.
To inform.
To inform, like a true manifestor. And he had the willpower to do so. He also always said that this is not done with him. There is a lot more to learn about it, to understand about it. He wanted to experiment with it, understand it more from a scientific viewpoint. And for example, Richard Rudd, who created the gene keys, created the gene keys, he was a student from Ra. So he wanted to develop it into a different direction, and Ra gave him the go-ahead. Same with Kim Gould. She is someone who went more into the astrological aspects. So she studied with Ra, and then she was wondering, so why is my ascendant not showing up? And then she was looking into her ascendant and realized that her type changed when she added that into her human design chart. And so she dove deeper into the asteroids as well, because she was missing a lot of the female energy in the human design chart. It's a very male energy, planetary positioning type of interpretation, and she wanted to have more of the female energy as well. So she's another one that I find very fascinating. There are some people that I'm a bit cautious about. I understand their idea behind it, But you will just have to listen to your own inner intuition to figure out who you trust and who you don't. And I personally just read up on a lot of different people. Also, Dr. Elena Haspel is the one that I've recently come across more and more. And she's really turning human design on its head. And I haven't read enough about her work, but I find it very intriguing because she does make a lot of good points and she has researched it, and she was requested by Ra to research human design, to really do scientific studies, and that's what she did with many of her clients, with many of her husband's clients. So she has a PhD in psychology. Her husband is a medical doctor. And that's where they were able to gather a lot of information regarding the PHS, the physical health system, if that works, if it doesn't work. And I think, yeah, taking human design as an experiment, and they took it to the next level because they weren't just experimenting on themselves, but just seeing how human design applies to others as well. I find that's what you need to do. And with everything in the world, because there's so many times where medicine has told us, okay, this is healthy or this is unhealthy. And then the opinion changes down the road. They do experiments and they find out, oh no, this is actually super toxic.
So good.
So yeah, and most recently, Corona pandemic, there were a lot of very strong opinions and things changed. People have changed their opinions about this in a lot of aspects. We're not going to get into conspiracy theories right now.
We can't say that. Tinfoil tales.
Oh, okay, tinfoil tales. Damn it. I just watched an episode recently where they were talking about
TTs?
CTs. And they said that they stopped doing these episodes because YouTube took down 45 of their videos because they focused on just that, and YouTube doesn't like that. So yeah, it's better to call it TTs or CTs or...
You can't say it.
You're right. But then they did a countdown and they were like counting how often they were saying CTs, and let's see how long that video is going to be up for. Anyways.
That's all we got, guys.
Thank you everyone for listening and watching if you've been watching. And it was a pleasure being here with you face to face. I wish we could do that again.
All right. Well, see you next time, guys, from somewhere in the world.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.